I never really was interested in aliens or supernatural stuff, but something massive happened to me. Needless to say, I am still skeptical, but I am more of a believer now. I'm a very logical and practical person. I don't like bullshit. I even hate the idea of the supernatural or aliens. I don't even watch fantastical movies or read fiction generally. I will explain what happened simply in the clearest way possible and let you decide. I don't care if you believe it, because I am very clearly saying that I don't know if I should believe it either. So, with that out of the way, I can begin. This happened about a week ago. I needed some time to think about this stuff first. I am somewhat of a panicky person, and so therefore, I needed to cool down for a while before I could write anything. I was driving home as usual from work at night. It was around 11:45 PM, and it's just around this time that there aren't many people on the roads anymore. I am basically lost in my thoughts because it's a normal day and I'm just doing the normal routine. I see a red light and I am stopping as usual. I stop and then I keep on driving. A moment later though, I come up to the same exact light. The one I just passed. It was one of those things I heard about a long time ago. It's a phenomenon some people feel like they're just time warped. However, I thought nothing of it for the most part. Why? Because, as I said, I wasn't paying super close attention and maybe I just imagined it. I was just like, whatever. In fact, I still don't know if this part is related to what happens next. Here's where it gets interesting though. I go to bed and nothing happened until then at all. I wake up around 3 AM, get some water to drink and then go back to bed. I assume I fell asleep not too long after that. Literally moments, because for me, it's easy to fall back asleep generally. It feels almost instantly as soon as I fall asleep. What happens I can only describe as a stereotypical waking up on an alien spacecraft experience. Just to be clear, I don't dream of aliens. In fact, I can say that I have never even had a dream about aliens. Monsters? Sure. Weird shit? Sure. But never aliens. I don't think about aliens ever. I don't study it, I never cared. I have to make this point here. For me, there is a very easy difference between feeling what I am dreaming or reality. I wouldn't mix it up. I felt like I was not dreaming. I felt like I was in waking reality this whole time. I wake up and my arms are stretched out at a 90-degree angle from my body straight up. My wrists are bound by some kind of clear plastic-like material. Of course I don't know if it's actually plastic, it's just what it felt like. It's transparent though, clear. I see no aliens around me. I'm just alone. The room I would describe as fairly small. Interestingly enough, behind my head I feel padding, like I'm laying on something gel-like. Cold, but not very hard. Now, the way I feel at that time is almost like the feeling you have after you are sedated at a hospital. I feel cold generally too. I could feel a lot of things, but my head was just immobile. But the thing is, I wasn't thinking very clearly. I do feel weird, I do feel sedated, but then again, I don't feel like I'm dreaming at all. Now, here's the weird part. I'm laying there for literally minutes. It feels real. Time never passes this way in dreams. In dreams, something is always happening. Then I hear a sound that sounds like the door when doors open in that one game, Doom, the old one. Except this is kind of lower pitch and a hum sort of preceded it. Yeah, this is the point in time where aliens came in. They walked in fast, and I didn't hear footsteps. Perhaps the way they move isn't anything like us, but this is stuff I'm assuming after the experience, after I had time to think about it. And the next moment, there is a twitchy alien looking down on me. Now, he's moving really fast. Like, not just his movements, but just It felt like his whole being was faster. It's almost impossible to explain. Like I knew he was fast, just not like I assumed. The knowledge sort of entered my mind in a was such that it was a fact. The way it looked was almost like the grays that people describe. The eyes were massive. Since this, I have read a bunch of alien stories, and some people say I wasn't scared. I was absolutely terrified. I could see the detail on its skin. It was like those fake pictures, but just imagine it being the real thing right in front of you. There was the one above me looking right at me, but there was at least a second one because I could feel him touching my body. Now you know how if you watch a fake alien somewhere, they move weird and blink like too slow to be convincing? This guy, I could see like the microscopic movements that a living being was making. I could see like the tiny muscles in its face and such. It never blinked, and I don't think it had eyelids. These aliens that came in basically did something very quickly. It was only a few seconds I was staring at this dude, and they knocked me out already. Usually I wake up around 7:30 AM. I am not a big sleeper. I woke up at noon. This has never happened before in my life, as far as I can recall. Anyway, that's the story of my dream, or as I'm telling myself to feel sane. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one because this is not a story we're talking about, but a video I found while I was looking for stuff. EOP claims that he remembers seeing this on the news when it happened. He can't remember the year, but it seemed like it was in the 1990s. After being on the news, the clip was all over shows like Unsolved Mysteries and such. The footage in question is an alleged abduction caught on CCTV. If you look closely in the video, at the top right picture to be specific, a worker disappears at a flash of light at 11:16. 2 hours later, the victim appears again after a second flash of light, crouching and vomiting. He then simply staggers off the frame. And soon after this incident, the victim abruptly quit his job and moved away. The footage is then being discussed by experts. They analyze it, theorize, give the fair share of words on it all, etc, etc. This could all just be some sort of camera malfunction coupled with perfect timings, or a perfect hoax, which could always be a possibility. You always gotta be skeptical about everything you see. Or it could be something along the lines of an actual abduction, maybe even something different, or even something crazier. What do you think? Check it out for yourself and share your thoughts in the comment section below.
There are 4 black and white pictures. In the top right quadrant, a worker walks right to left through a gate. He disappears here in a flash of light at 11:16 p.m. The tape continued to run normally until almost 2 hours later. Then the victim reappears in a second flash of light, now in a fetal position. Then moments later, now crouching, he vomits, and seconds later, staggers right to left, out of frame.
Date: March 1956. Location: White Sands Missile Test Range, New Mexico. One of the earliest reports of human mutilations perpetrated by aliens is a case witnessed by Air Force personnel in which an Air Force Sergeant E6 by the name of Jonathan P. Lovett was observed being taken captive aboard what appeared to be a UFO at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. This abduction took place in March of 1956 at about 3 AM local and was witnessed by Major William Cunningham of the United States Air Force Missile Command near Holloman Air Force Base. Major Cunningham and Sergeant Lovett were out in the field downrange from the launch sites looking for debris from a missile test when Sergeant Lovett went over the ridge of a small sand dune and was out of sight for a time. Major Cunningham heard Sergeant Lovett scream in what was described as terror or agony. The Major, thinking Lovett had been bitten by a snake or something, ran over the crest of the dune and saw Sergeant Lovett being dragged into what appeared to him and was described as being a silvery disc-like object which hovered in the air approximately 15 to 20 meters. Major Cunningham described what appeared to be a long, snake-like object which was wrapped around the sergeant's legs and was dragging him to the craft. Major Cunningham admittedly froze as the sergeant was dragged into the disc and observed the disc going up into the sky very quickly. Major Cunningham got on the Jeep radio and reported the incident to Missile Control, whereupon Missile Control confirmed a radar sighting. Search parties went into the desert looking for Sergeant Lovett. Major Cunningham's report was taken and he was admitted to the White Sands Base Dispensary for observation. The search for Sergeant Lovett continued for 3 days, at the end of which his nude body was found approximately 10 miles downrange. The body had been mutilated, the tongue had been removed from the lower portion of the jaw. An incision had been made just under the tip of the chin and extended all the way back to the esophagus and larynx. He had been emasculated, and his eyes had been removed. Also, his anus had been removed, and there were comments in the report on the apparent surgical skill of the removal of these items, including the genitalia. The report commented that the anus and the genitalia had been removed as though a plug, which in the case of the anus extended all the way to the colon. There was no sign of blood within the system. The initial autopsy report confirmed that the system had been completely drained of blood, and that there was no vascular collapse due to death by bleeding. Subcomment was added that this was unusual because in anybody who dies of bleeding, or in the case of a complete blood loss, there is always vascular collapse. Also noted was that when the body was found, there were a number of dead predatory type birds within the area who apparently had died after trying to partake of the sergeant's body. There were a number of extremely grisly black and white photographs. From all indications, the body had been exposed to the elements for at least a day or two. The New Mexico sun in the desert is extremely hot and debilitating under normal circumstances. Major Cunningham was initially accused of murdering Sergeant Jonathan P. Lovett. Charges were later dropped.